An actor with emotional problems? I find this hard to believe.
What the fuck? Keep going. I am acting here, and this dickhead wanders onto my set. I can't even get a line out until Dopey the Dick starts whispering in your ear, and you're not even watching anymore.
Dennis.
Don't fucking Dennis me. I am doing my job here. I am a pro. This is the most unprofessional set I have ever been on. This is horse shit. I've got these fucking zombies over here that I have to look at. I have a bunch of pussies staring at me, and this fucking baby. This is garbage. Blow me.
All right, so the baby, the zombies. That is by far Dennis Quaid's best acting performance ever.
To date.
Now, there's a rumor, I should say right up top, there is a rumor that maybe it was staged. We have no reason to believe that, though. But somebody was saying that maybe Jimmy Kimmel made this thing happen. Anyway, if it wasn't staged, that's his best work ever.
Oscar worthy, Oscar worthy.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about is who qualifies as baby, who qualifies as pussy, and who qualifies as zombie. Like, I want to know who falls into which category.
Yeah.
Because there only seems to be one baby. So I'm like, there's only one baby, but there are multiple pussies and multiple zombies.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I want to know what Dopey the Dick did.
Oh, so you don't think... Wait, so
What
you
is
don't think
that?
the baby... So I thought there was actually a baby, like that baby over
it
there.
could
Like,
be baby.
Crying, baby
Yeah.
crying.
But the baby didn't make any noise. If anybody, he was the biggest baby there. So
Yeah.
who did he think was a baby?
that's a big...
I'm just wanting to know.
Yeah, that's an important question. What do you think of when they leak these things? Like, we've seen this before with plenty of actors having these mental breakdowns. Do you think it's like specific to actors, or they could catch any of us one day having these like crazy meltdowns?
Yeah,
right?
and that's the thing. I feel kind of bad for him. If it is real, I feel bad just because like everyone has that moment where they break down, and that's the worst version of you in the worst possible situation when you're really frustrated. And I wouldn't want that to be like captured and put on the internet and representative of me. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
I hear you. There is something though special about actors, like the way he was yelling, like it's all about me. This is what I'm doing. You're staring. Like he's angry that people are staring at him, but what are they supposed to do on a set?
I hear you, and I take your point. I think you're right, but to some degree, it is the worst time to catch them. But at the same time, it's like what we do, and I classify myself as an actor because that's how I make my money. You're welcome. But
we've got mics on, so like we're actors.
We're actors.
acting.
We're performing,
Yeah.
and for me, it's still where you have to, there's some amount of humility that you have to have with everything.
Yeah.
With everything that you do. And I think that it can get to a point where sometimes where you forget that you're not curing cancer. You ain't solving world hunger right now, or the energy crisis, or fixing global warming. You just acting, so calm your tits.
So is that
Like, apologies, but the tits was not calm.
calm
clearly.
your tits? I say that every day.
I know.
So is that it? Like actors, there's like this self-importance with them, right? Like they have to get into character. So I can understand it at some level, but they're not actually nuclear scientists. They're not actually curing cancer. People are always like they're such geniuses, but they're not
think
doing
about
the
road
real
rage
thing. They're
for a
just
second.
pretending.
Yeah, think about like road rage for a second. People get so angry when they're driving when someone cuts them off. It's going to delay them like a second to get to where they're going. But it's just, sometimes you're just in that really pissed off moment and someone gets to you. And actors especially, like, it takes a lot to get into character sometimes and to put yourself into that role. So whenever somebody breaks your concentration over and over again, I can see how that would be very frustrating. Like, of course, he should be humble and shouldn't act like a child and stomp his feet.
Maybe
but at the
I'm
same
just
time,
that good of an actress that I don't need all that
Maybe.
to be crazy.
I just feel kind of bad for him that is his like image now.
Yeah. Have you guys ever been caught on camera doing something that you shouldn't have been doing, or not realize, like had a hot mic or anything like that?
Yeah, it's youtube.com/HeyYoShanna. You're welcome.
It's every day. Yeah.
No, not really.
Nothing.
I mean, people would think that about me and my YouTube channel.
I'm gonna plant a camera in your house. Then.
Everything I say is on purpose.
Yeah.
On the channel, so.
It did happen to me one time at my old studio. They left the mic on. I didn't realize, and a zillion people were suddenly tweeting at me, asking me why I was talking about high school and this guy that I hated. I'd like to publicly apologize to Keith from Syosset. You're not that terrible. A Republican presidential candidate that's kinda, sorta, maybe okay with the gays?
Let's talk about a social issue, gay marriage. In New Hampshire, you said, "I will fight for your right to be left alone." I realize that you believe gay marriage is a state issue, but why do you believe, just as a core principle, as a libertarian, that people should be left alone, but not when it comes to their right to marry somebody they love.
I do believe people ought to be left alone. I don't care who you are, what you do at home, or who your friends are, what, where you hang out, what kind of music you listen to. What you do in your home is your own business. That's always been who I am. I am a leave me alone kind of guy.
But not when it comes to marriage.
Well, no. I mean, states will end up making the decisions on these things. I think that there's a religious connotation to marriage. I believe in the traditional religious connotation to this, but I also believe people ought to be treated fairly under the law. I see no reason why, if the marriage contract conveys certain things, that if you want to marry another woman, that you can do that and have a contract. But the thing is the religious connotation of marriage that has been going on for thousands of years, I still want to preserve that. And you probably could have both. You could have both traditional marriage, which I believe in, and then you could also have the neutrality of the law that allows people to have contracts with another.
All right, I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, but I basically think that's okay. He's saying gay people should have the exact same rights, but the word marriage has a religious connotation. It's not that I agree with the principle and I don't believe in separate but equal, but for a Republican that's trying to win with the right-wing nuts of his party to win a nomination, he's basically saying, I don't care about the gay issue. Let's not make it an issue for 2016. I don't think he's fighting against gay people. I get it. I know what everyone's going to say on this. I'm going to go to you first because I saw that face during the video.
I mean, I don't like it. Even watching that made me cringe a little bit.
Because it's slimy. I get it. It's slimy, right? He's playing politics, but...
I know that you're saying that, oh, it'll help him win on the Republican ticket, but he's already said so many things that have kind of screwed his chances for that anyways. I mean, he's very for legalizing drugs, and he's against the military-industrial complex, overusing it and things like that I like about him.
That you like,
I like
so he can't win the
primary. But I mean, that kind of screws him on the right. But as far as this, it is separate but equal. And it's horrible. And he keeps going on and on about how it's got this religious connotation, which is total fucking bullshit. Because marriage was going on way before religion came and stole it. They don't have a copyright on it. They haven't patented it. It's something that everyone should be able to have. And I think a lot of people who are gay who get married are actually still religious.
I'm gay and going to get married. So I say this with all due irony.
I know, but still, like, if there's freedom of religion, then there should be freedom of religion for people who are gay who want to get married in a church if they want. If there's a church that's willing and they want to have it and they think that that's traditional marriage and that's what it means to them, then why not? Why is it
well, I don't think he's saying that they wouldn't be allowed to get married in a church if the church allowed it. I think he's just saying the word and then give gay people
Gay people can't have that word.
Yeah, the only reason I'm okay with this is just because I know how nutty the right side of his party is, and he's trying to.
He's the least nutty, you're giving him credit.
Because he's not trying to make gay an issue. He knows that it's done. He's a libertarian. He doesn't want to be in your bedroom. So actually, he should be totally for gays, and he should be totally for weed, which he's not totally for. That's another topic. But like to me, this seems like this is progress. Like this is progress. Come on, give me something here.
What she said.
Yeah.
I have a historical difficulty with any concept of separate but equal.
Yeah.
Any concept of it, not really. I don't know if it's maybe the color of my skin. A little uncomfortable with that concept in general.
Yeah.
And the last time any woman in my family was in a relationship with a man or with anybody, a woman, that there was a contract, it was a slave.
Yeah.
So really not down with that terminology either.
So does this show why politics is so fucked up? Like, I'm trying to be like pragmatic here and being like, oh, I get what he has to do politically to do this, but the principle is okay. But doesn't this whole thing then feel slimy? Because then it's like, look, if he doesn't get the support, then it could be a guy like Ted Cruz who would gladly get rid of gay marriage.
I'm just so sick of the entire GOP's discrimination against LGBT people, against women, and I really hope that the left uses that against them in the upcoming election.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been 50 years since the civil rights era, and there are still people out there who think that discrimination is okay.
Yeah.
It's like if you can't grasp the simple concept that, hey, gay people are normal, equal individuals, if you can't understand that, then I don't really think that you can really give much insight into more complicated issues. It's like, hey, they think discrimination is cool. Now let's hear what they have to say on macroeconomics.
Well, exactly. Because also it doesn't, there's no logical stand on it. They, when they always say, well, it'll ruin the family, except we keep getting gay marriage in more states. Have you noticed any families crumbling? Actually, I've seen families get stronger.
I've seen some crumbling.
You've seen a couple crumbling? Because
I was really attracted to this guy. Turns out he was gay. married another guy, and that could have been a family. He ruined it.
He ruined that non-existent family. Has your family been ruined like Shanna's by gays, these activist gays? Let us know what you think in the comments right down below. Guys, you're not going to believe this, but people are outraged at something a celebrity did.
Gwyneth Paltrow is challenging herself to live on $29 a week, roughly the same amount each member of low-income families on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program are allotted. What seems like noble intentions are being met with eye rolls and mockery on social media after posting a photo of her grocery haul. Notorious for being rich and oblivious, Paltrow is being torn a new one on social media for supposing a diet of fresh veggies, black beans, and brown rice is sufficient enough for hardworking, physically active people. Mother Jones is criticizing the actress by titling a recent article, "Gwyneth Paltrow confuses her latest master cleanse with an attempt to relate to the poor."
Notorious for being rich and oblivious. I think we editorialized it just a tiny bit there, but point taken. Now, of course, we talk about this all the time. Outrage. Everyone's outraged all the time. I'm outraged about everything constantly. I'm always looking for things to be outraged by. This seems to be one of those cases where I think she's generally trying to put good into the world, and they love knocking her because she's pretty and she's smart and whatever. But she steamed her vagina and she's rich. Wait, she's the one that steamed her vagina, right? Didn't she steam her vagina? Somebody steamed. Yes, a steaming of a vagina. She steamed a vagina.
Is that like a poached?
It's like a poached vagina,
Okay.
but you take it off a little early.
Got it.
But look, it seems she's trying to do something good here, and by showing how hard it is for people to live on SNAP. And by the way, $28 for a week? How is that even remotely considered? But what do you, first let's just talk about the outrage. What do you think about all the people that then just attack?
People are looking for something to yell about, because when was the last time any of those motherfuckers talked about SNAP?
Yeah.
Ever in life. When was the last time that any of these entitled fucks who weren't living on $28 or $29 a week ever talked about it, used their social media platform and their voices to actually bring awareness to the fact that it's too little money and people can't get good nutrition on it? Whereas she may be a little bit idealistic. Okay, they need a little bit more rice and something to keep them feeling full from passing out. Yes, you can pass out because you have a bunch of assistants to catch you. But, you know, I get that it's not maybe the ideal, but look at the intention sometimes and don't focus on the execution.
Yeah, what is that about? The obsession to ignore the intention, which is obviously good. Yeah. If she wanted publicity, she could have done a gajillion other things beyond trying to bring attention to SNAP, which most people don't care about.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. I mean, people just want to be outraged about something. So they're gonna look past her intentions and see the food that she bought and say, oh look, this is a master cleanse, this isn't food, this isn't carbs. People who are low income are out working, you know, strenuous jobs and stuff, and they need more energy and carbs to, you know, produce that energy, and a bunch of leafy vegetables and garlic and I don't know, eggs, whatever she had, isn't exactly enough substance for most people. But I mean, it's overall, like you said, she's doing a good thing. She's trying to reach out and spread awareness about something that she thought was important. And instead of like looking at that and being like, okay, you know, maybe you didn't do the best job, but I see what you're trying to do. I hear you. Let's just focus on the problem and, you know, help. Here's a link to donate to people if you want it, you know, help them out. Instead of focusing so much on what she's doing wrong, why don't you focus on the problem that she's actually trying to solve?
So getting over the outrage portion of this thing, $29 a week. My math isn't great, but 29 divided by 7 days a week is a 4 and change. Is there any way you could possibly survive on $4 and change a day over the course of a week?
Not very easily. And there's another aspect to Gwyneth's shopping list, which is maybe it would have inspired if they were on Twitter. I mean, they probably working a job. Let's keep it real. People on Snap ain't got time to be. They hustling. So maybe that they didn't get the message, but maybe all of this talk about it will make them think they could buy more vegetables and less crap, even though, truthfully speaking, it's harder to eat healthy at a smaller budget than it is to eat a bunch of crap. Yeah.
You know, people always say that, and I've gotten shit for this before, but sometimes it seems to me you could, if you went to Trader Joe's, obviously not a particularly high-end thing, I get it's not everywhere, but you could get a thing of eggs and some peanut butter and beans. But nobody wants to live like that. Nobody wants to live like that, number one. My point is that a Happy Meal at McDonald's or whatever it's called is a lot more expensive than actually, like you could get maybe 4 of those for $28 when you can actually get some better ingredients for cheaper.
It's still a challenge. I mean, 28, if you really think about, when I go into the grocery store just to pick up a couple things, I spend $30. I go in and I get like 3 things. And because I want to buy organic eggs and, you know, all of the things that are better for you and aren't necessarily as genetically modified or as, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, even
as genetically modified, knowing that pretty much everything
is gonna kill you. So this one will kill me slower than this one.
Yeah.
But the program is severely underfunded, clearly, because people, and if this is, I hope this is for one person, not for a family, right?
No, this is for a family of 4.
That's
for a family of
people
4.
were mad at her too, because what she had was just for herself, a bunch of like leafy vegetables and stuff, and like that wouldn't be enough for most individuals, much less their families.
Right.
And they're right, but they should be more angry that they're asking 4 people to survive on that.
So is that the crux of this?
Anger should have been channeled.
Right. So is that the crux of this? That the system sort of can't get fixed because even though now, so we, the media calls a little bit attention to this. People go, all right, $28 clearly not enough for one person, much less 4 people. But those people on the bottom, they don't vote as much as the people up top. They don't have access to voting, all that stuff. It's a whole other topic. But so the system never has an incentive to fix the problem. Yeah. So is that really the problem here? It's not about what you can buy with the money, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely we need to do different things to fix the problem. A lot of people like to focus on all the external issues and just the media hype of it, but I mean, it's obviously a real problem. Yeah. I don't understand how one person could survive off that, much less a family.
Exactly, and the rage should have been channeled into getting that program fixed, as opposed to at Gwyneth Paltrow, who's just shedding light on something.
Maybe a little naive, but still she's doing something.
She's still doing something more than you are by yelling at her.
Wow, all right, well there you go, Gwyneth. Everyone's hating on you all the time, but we are all down with what you're doing. Anyway, what do you guys think? Could you possibly survive on $28 a week just for yourself, much less for a family of 4? Let us know in the comments right down below. 2016 election madness has begun. May God have mercy on all our souls.
A Bloomberg national poll shows 58% of Republicans and independents would consider supporting Senator Rand Paul in the GOP primaries. Rand, who announced his presidential bid last week, is the current forerunner of the Republican Party. At least 50% of the same voters who praised Rand expressed interest in supporting 5 other aspiring candidates, including Mike Huckabee, Rick Perry, and Mark Rubio, signaling a potentially lengthy nomination battle.
All right, so we just did a previous segment where I was defending Rand Paul a little bit. It sounds like he's in the front at the moment, but when you hear all this stuff and you watch those names, Huckabee, like, doesn't it seems like a time warp. Doesn't it seem like these guys all exist in a time warp? Marco Rubio, he's younger, Latino, people seem to dig him, but the rest of them, it just seems like dinosaurs being dug out from Republican graves.
Yeah, and it also speaks to the fact that I think I mentioned in an earlier segment that being a politician is not about your principles or what you stand for. It really, or at least not a successful one.
Right.
Being a successful is a likability thing. It's people liking you. And the fact is, there isn't a really strong Republican candidate right now that's
they're not likable.
They're not likable. So that's why you're seeing all of this kind of fracturing within the party of maybe this guy, or I could vote for this guy, or this guy, or this guy, because none of them really embody all of the characteristics that I think voters want to believe. Oh, this guy can take us and do something different, or this person can do something different for us. And they're like,
So we sort of want Jesus, right? Like, that's what we seem to really want, is this. Like, when Obama ran the first time, it was like he was everything. Everyone thought he was unbelievable. I know 40-something% didn't. But, like, it felt like there was this incredible feeling, like, this is the second coming. And yes, we can. Hope and change. But do we not really need that? Do we actually need someone that maybe isn't likable but actually wants to hardcore govern and know his shit inside out and all that?
Yeah, I highly doubt that the American public would ever vote for somebody they didn't like. I feel like that's at the forefront of everyone's mind. Like, oh, are they cool?
Yeah.
Like Republicans, can I have a beer with them? If they can, then cool. Then they're going to vote for it.
So then is that why this country is totally screwed? Yeah. That we get more obsessed, like this week, with Hillary having Chipotle. And did you see the video? There were literally like dozens of reporters chasing her into Chipotle, and everybody was doing articles on what did she order. It was a chicken bowl. Like, that actually is more important than what her views on foreign policy are or whatever.
Exactly. I think that I answered your question midway through. I went, that's the problem. And it's also the problem that a lot of people, especially the younger generation, don't actively take a role in making sure that the direction that the government is shaped in. Because now it's like the entertainment industry. It's a bunch of 60 and 70-year-old dudes all, jacking their dicks and saying how great they are, and it's the same ideas that keep getting circulated.
Is this like the sort of catch-22 of social media also? That like, I love how it connects everybody and people know more, and if there's a revolution in Egypt, we can know about it. And then at the same token, like, our politicians all feel like they have to be on Snapchat and Instagram and doing all the right things, and it just makes it that much faker.
Yeah, it does seem very superficial, but to not utilize social media would be very stupid.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like it's important in making change and spreading awareness, you know, et cetera.
How much can you guys talk about polls before? Like, we're 22 months out, and I know the media's going crazy. I'm in that world. My Twitter stream, just in this week, because of Rubio and Rand and Hillary, like, I see it already changing. We're already talking about 2 years in the future instead of talking about now, which I think, that's kind of dangerous, don't you think? That we stop focusing on, there's still 2 years of this guy. And 2 years of things that are happening now.
Yes, but at the same time, it's the problem and the benefit of living in kind of an instantaneous, instant coffee type world where, you know, this news comes in and it's all your attention goes on to that full throttle for the entire day and a half. And then, oh my God, this caught my attention and I'm now over here. So it's reflective of that world, and everybody wants to explode things out, and news stories, because there's so many sources for news, they have to make things into news. That's why Chipotle is no news. And you're like, why am I watching this? I don't even know why I care. Because it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But I think it's the way we consume information now, so it's just reflective of that. But I do think you can always find something that is, oh, this is the flaw with this and the flaw with that. I think at the end of the day, people just have to, like you said, stop looking so much on how pretty or how cool or how down to earth the person seems, and think about their policies and how that will affect not only you personally, but the people you care about and the policies that you care about in your country. Otherwise, you're fucked.
I'll try to spin this positive. Is something good actually happening here, where we're getting these nonsensical Chipotle things, and, you know, they said Rand Paul fights with women because he had one interview that was a little whatever, that we're getting that stuff out now. So maybe as we get a little closer to the election, it could actually be about real. Do you think that's actually possible? Probably not, right?
Because, I mean, I remember at the last election, like, we were still talking about binders of women and, you know, ridiculous things that no one really cares about. People like to focus on the silly little things, which is okay as long as at the end of the day you're not voting based off of that.
Do you have a binder of women? Let us know in the comments right down below. File this under better late than never.
Pope Francis commemorated the centenary of the slaughter of Armenians, calling the massacre by the Ottoman Turks the first genocide of the 20th century. Francis urged international organizations to formally recognize the Armenian genocide in order to prevent such horrors from repeating themselves. Francis's comments caused immediate outcry from Turkish leaders. The Turkish foreign minister took to Twitter, saying, "The Pope's statement, which is far from historic and legal truths, is unacceptable. Religious positions are not places where unfounded claims are made and hatred is stirred." Turkey went on to recall its ambassadors for consultations and summoned the Vatican's envoy.
All right, so we're only a couple days from the 100th anniversary of the beginning of the Armenian genocide. Now, obviously, the church had never acknowledged it before. Many Western countries still haven't acknowledged it. But the reason I want to do this story was because I think this Pope is actually pretty good. Like, this is a good Pope. He's done some stuff about gay people. I know it's not perfect yet, but he's done a little something. These institutions are big. It takes a long time to drag them there. He's done a lot of stuff with homeless people. He's trying to do something good, and this strikes me as another good thing, that he's trying to acknowledge history and sort of move forward. What do you think about this Pope?
I do think he's the coolest Pope thus far.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that. But it is something where I do think ultimately the Turkish ambassador's words really kind of rung true for me when he said, when he said that religious office is not the place to take sides or push an agenda, especially when it's one that is talking about the loss of lives. When you make one more important than the other, just by use of language, I can understand if I were a citizen of that country being taken aback or feeling slighted by that.
But should we worry about the Turks feeling slighted if 1.5 million Armenians were killed?
Here's the thing.
I guess this goes to your point about politics and religion.
I don't think they're bedfellows. I just think ultimately they're not I do think, for example, when you brought up, oh, he's done great things in terms of the Catholic Church. Yeah. In terms of,
it's all slow. Like,
and it's all slow, and it's a huge step for that kind of institution. You're absolutely right. But I also think that at the end of the day, it's like when you start politicking, you end up creating more dividing lines than you do uniting ones sometimes. Because it's why politicians really aren't necessarily smart people. They're just really good or likable people.
Right.
You can vote for them. Their ideas may be stupid. Whereas a religious organization, especially one as prevalent as the Catholic Church, to my opinion, they need to keep themselves doing the church thing, and I'm gonna be over here doing my.
You just want them to keep handing out wafers.
Yeah, give out the grape juice and the little bit of bread. And I'm gonna be over here doing my thing, but I don't think those are the two things that should meet up.
Right. So now, Jaclyn, if I know one thing about you, it's that you love religion and you love popes. So how do you feel? How do you feel about this pope in general? Somebody that's trying to change things.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is one good thing that he's done. So I mean, like, he's done some good things. There's some things he's done that I don't agree with, but this is definitely one of the more positive things. And the quote that you mentioned, I think, yeah, ideally that'd be great, but I feel like that's exactly what religion is for. It's a place where people do that.
I think that's where comedy is, where you do that, not church.
It's a fine line between.
Ideally, that would be the case, but it's often not. I don't know. I think it's good that the Pope addressed this. And I think it's really shitty that the Turkish people, not the people, but the leaders and the government, it's like they're trying to hide something that is very blatantly obvious, and they've been trying to hide it, and they try to act like it's just a casualty of war and not admit that it's a genocide.
Right.
Which
I mean,
is really
1.5 million people.
That's
to me, this is the
people.
most underreported or underacknowledged event that's happened in the last literally 100 years.
Which is why it's great that the Pope actually called them out on it. And it's not letting them just get away with it and shove it under the rug like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
If I will acknowledge that, but I will also acknowledge that there are so many more countries of color, especially in Africa, where there are genocides, mini genocides on a daily, if not weekly basis that go unacknowledged by media, by the church, by other foreign powers. I'm thinking if you're going to start drawing lines and calling everybody out, call everybody out or shut the hell up.
We do. I mean, a lot of times people are called out, but the difference is that they're trying to hide it blatantly, and this is the anniversary, so that's why it got brought up. It's not just like a random thing that they're doing.
Right. So is that the irony here? And that's when, like, the geopolitics and religion, I get it. They don't work together really, and often cause more death and destruction than anything else. But for a lot of the Western countries haven't acknowledged it because they want to cozy up to Turkey. But now Turkey's been sliding a little bit away from the West, so maybe some of these countries will acknowledge it, which then could maybe lead to acknowledging some of the other things that you're talking about in Africa. Maybe. Maybe.
At the end of the day, I think that when you create when religion becomes more divisive than it is something that unites. I mean, I'm not a particularly religious person. But I mean, let's not get into that. But I still feel like there's a place for religion, and I think your point was great that he's shining light on something, and I get that that's the positive aspect of it. It's something that's been ignored or swept under the rug for a long time, so that's the positive aspect of it. But I personally don't feel as though religion is the place for that.
Is it hard for you to give religion credit in cases like this, even though you did clearly there? But I struggle with that, like the idea of something that has done so much fucked up shit in general, and I'm just talking about general religion, that when they do these slow things, like you're sort of a little more okay with gays, like I want to be like, wow, that's great, but like they're still like hundreds of years behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that, of course, I agree with you, but I mean, I don't always want to focus on all the bad things, and of course, if I could have my way, I would try to get rid of religion because I feel like it does more harm than good, and the good that it does do can be done without religion. But whenever they do take steps like this, of course, I'm going to be happy about it because it overall has a positive effect on everyone else, and there are still so many religious people that this kind of thing is almost needed.
All right, well, I don't know that we can solve issues of genocide and religion right here, but let us know what you think in the comments right down below. I have a 421st reason that weed should be legal.
The National Institute on Drug Abuse has recognized a study proposing marijuana may have a dramatic effect on one of the most aggressive forms of brain cancer. According to the study by St. George's University of London, when used with radiation, extracts from whole plant marijuana increase the cancer-killing effects of the radiation. The U.S. Surgeon General claims that in the preliminary data, for certain medical conditions and symptoms, marijuana can be helpful.
All right, so I want to be really clear about this one point before we start this, which is that still, as we say now every time we do a weed video, marijuana is classified as a Class 1 drug by the federal government. That means the government right now still says, the federal government still says that it has no medicinal value. That has been disproven a bajillion times. This is just one study that it's been disproven, that it helps people with epilepsy and seizures and cancer and AIDS and every disease you can possibly think of. People take it to reduce stress. They take it to laugh. It said, you know, all those jokes, fine. Is this like a major, major failing of Obama? I blame this on him because even though everyone knows that he's okay with weed, why isn't he he has nothing to risk at this point. Why doesn't he just get out there? You know, he did that interview with Vice a couple weeks ago and they asked him about it and they're like, we know you're down with weed. But why don't you do it? And he basically was like, well, people have other things to worry about, which is true, but you're the president. You can do a lot of shit at once. Like, why doesn't he change this?
That's actually a great point. I mean, I've never consumed in my entire life, like never. This is
you say that every time we do. Every time. I don't know.
Listen. This is a natural high, baby. But I've always believed in the legalization of marijuana because I think you can much more. You could tax the shit out of it.
Yeah. Look what's happening in Colorado right now.
So much money and put it back into the infrastructures that are so underfunded. So it's like, it's a win-win. People want to get high. You want to get some money, everybody's happy. Yeah. It's like the weed affected the world.
Literally, so, I can't quote this exactly, but I think in the first month that Colorado legalized marijuana, they put $4 million extra tax dollars into the public school system.
And not only that, you're going to decrease the prison population. That's already a problem. So it's like, there's like no downside.
So what's going on? So when the politicians see something like this, it can shrink brain tumors. I mean, think about that, what that really means. What is the angle? Is this because the pharmaceuticals are giving them a lot of money, so they don't want weed? I mean, that must have.
That's my best guess, honestly.
Actually, I think you said you just found a reason before then. You said it would reduce the prison population.
Yeah.
Prison's a business.
Well, I guess,
prison is big business.
Yeah.
Prisons make so much money, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think most of the nonviolent crimes have to do with drugs.
Yeah.
And most of those are probably, I don't have any statistics to back me up, probably weed. They can't lose their population. They have to keep I think it's a 72% occupancy.
Well, we now have for-profit private prisons, which is insane. We actually have companies that have an incentive to find people and put them in jail for drug offenses.
I think you found the answer when you said
that. There's that too, but I don't understand why people are so afraid of marijuana. Like, there's 0 deaths reported as a result of marijuana use. And why is it in the same category as other drugs like heroin?
Yeah.
Heroin, also LSD and ecstasy, but heroin?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Why?
Well, it seems to me that it's because they're afraid that if they legalize this and people realize that it has medicinal value, it chills you out, it stops stress, that people are going to stop popping pills, and we are in a country of people. But this is all natural, you're telling me?
All natural. You can have it too.
You got to bottle that.
YouTube.com/HeyYoShana. I'm just saying.
Watch out, you're going to be in the same category pretty soon as heroin.
How soon, what was I going to say? How soon will weed be fully legalized? So it's going down, we know. It's happening like gay marriage, right? So like, we're going to get there. And this, just to call back to our Rand Paul conversation earlier, where I said he's just doing what's politically whatever, like that's what I think Obama's doing here. But the part that I don't get, as I said, is that he has nothing to lose.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah. Like, why not? Maybe then is he waiting for the last month? Like, he's going to be like, by the way, guys, weed.
Weed for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm out.
What do you think about the weed situation? Let us know in the comments right down below. Some people call them IS, some people call them ISIS, some people call them ISIL. I call them assholes.
A 16-year-old schoolboy told the Daily Mail that he saw Islamic State fighters playing soccer with a severed human head inside the Yarmouk's refugee camp, located just 6 miles outside the Syrian capital, Damascus. In December 2012, civil unrest transformed Yarmouk from a thriving district into a combat zone for anti- and pro-government armies. Before Yarmouk's takeover by ISIS in April, close to 18,000 refugees had been residing there. Only about 2,500 of them, or 500 families, managed to escape. In just a week, the terrorist group has killed around 200 people.
All right, so the Yarmouk refugee camp, it's been a disaster for a long time. They've basically been keeping Palestinians in there, giving them virtually no rights. The Syrian government gives them pretty much nothing, and now ISIS is rampaging through there. Every time we do an ISIS story at this point, between beheadings and burning people alive, do you get outraged anymore? Or do you not even outraged? Like, I see this and it's just like, you see it on Twitter going by and you're like, soccer with the human head, another behead. Like, How desensitized to this stuff are you in general?
I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm definitely not desensitized, but it is unfortunately not shocking anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not desensitized to the horror of what this is. So, I mean, it gave me chills listening to that story again, but it's still one of those things where you're like, kind of think they would do something that abhorrent. Like, think of the worst possible thing.
And
They're probably, yeah, ISIS is doing that right now.
by the way, there's also history, sadly. There's history of guys doing this with heads. Al-Qaeda was doing it a couple of years ago. Where's your we've talked to ISIS a lot when I've had you on. Where's your desensitization level at these days?
I feel like every time I read something like this, I have the same gut sickness feeling reaction. I was reading that article and there was a part where they said that they were cutting children's heads off in front of their parents. I mean, that's the kind of thing that just makes you sick.
Yeah, they have kids literally doing the beheadings now too.
Like what you said, you think of the worst possible thing and they're probably doing it. So, it's already been clearly established that ISIS does not view the people who they do these things to as human. Yeah. They have no moral sense for that at all. Yeah. So whenever they do these things, it's like they're doing it to an inanimate object. They just do not care.
So what do you guys think their end game is? Because we never talk about this in the media. We talk about, well, should we bomb them? How horrible it is, et cetera, et cetera. But what's the end game? They can't behead everybody. You can't keep every woman covered head to toe just with the slits of their eyes. I mean, what do you think the end is?
I think their end game is to remove the slits altogether, because I think that's too much, that's way too much flesh. I don't know, because I can't put my mind in that kind of mindset.
Yeah, is that part of it though? We can't even
I can't even fathom. That's exactly it. At least I can't fathom what the hell is, what are you doing? Where is this, how is this going to end?
Yeah.
But for me, it comes back to, what are we waiting on? Clearly these are kind of animals. Let's just call a spade a spade. What the fuck are we waiting on?
So what should we do? What do you think? Because we've talked about this before, and I always say I'm not for intervention in general. We've fucked up so much in the Middle East. Look at Iraq now; it's basically not a country anymore. Syria is pretty much not a country by all standards. So I'm not really for intervention, and yet we're watching some truly horrific stuff happen. If we could have jumped in and stopped the Nazis earlier, if Twitter had existed back then and YouTube, and we would have seen what was going on, you know what I mean, and seen footage of crematoriums or whatever, we probably would have jumped in earlier and we would have saved millions of lives. So isn't it sort of incumbent on us to do something?
I would like to do something, but at what point are you crossing a line and putting yourself at risk or causing problems? And I mean, we already have a bad reputation as the United States of going places where we shouldn't be going and staying in other countries for too long. But at the same time, you see horrible things like this and you want to jump in and help. So even myself, I have a hard time balancing that in my own mind. Oh, I want to help them. Well, the United States is intervening all the time where they shouldn't be. Or, okay, I don't want to help them then. Well, what are you doing? So it's very...
So I think pretty much everyone in the country feels that way. I think that's what it is. We're watching something horrible. People are thinking what you're saying. What are we waiting for? And then the rest of the other half of the brain is going, well, we always fuck it up, so it's going to get worse. But what do you do with that?
You have to do something though, because I think that whether or not Monroe Doctrine or Manifest Destiny or whatever, the United States is a superpower. We have the ability to do so much more, and yes, we fucked up in the past. We have fucked up in the past. Learn from our mistakes, but one of the things that we have to learn from is, like you said, if Anne Frank was tweeting instead of writing in her diary, I would like to hope that we would have saved millions of people, rather than waiting until pretty much the end to jump in and do something. Don't wait until another million people are dead and we've seen a million beheadings and a million other obscene acts against humanity, and then you go, finally we're going to come in. I'm like, that's a million lives that could have been saved. And maybe that's why some of those countries are in shambles, because we wait long and then go in and a whole bunch of people die and there's nobody to rebuild anything. I
think this is a fascinating philosophical argument, which they're not having on the news at all, which is why I wanted to talk about it here. What do you guys think? Do we have to do something? And when I say we, yeah, America, but does the world have to do something? Are we supposed to let it just go to shit? What do we do about this? Let us know what you think in the comments right down below. Surely flying can't get more comfortable. It can, and don't call me Shirley.
Accidentally falling asleep on a fellow passenger's shoulder will be a thing of the past. That is, if Boeing's patent for a transport vehicle upright sleep support system is approved. Boeing's invention, dubbed Cuddle Chairs by GeekWire, will consist of backpack-like contraptions that passengers can pull out from under their seats to rest their head and chest on, making comfortable air travel accessible to all.
All right, so basically, the future, it's a fine line between flying on an airplane and fucking a robot. That seemed like what it's going to be. I want to do this story because when we've done stuff about planes, I don't like to fly in general. I always, every time I've ever flown, whether drugged or not, I have a moment thinking that that's it. You know what I mean? And it's all over, and did I do everything right and all that? But we've all had the people sleeping on us. We've all sat in the middle, all that. So this is pretty good. This is a nice little something. You want to be strapped in when they get you? Would you like to be strapped in to the seat?
No.
You don't want to be strapped in?
No.
That scares you.
That does not look comfortable, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a great way to sleep.
Yeah.
I especially like when you're traveling, you know, here to New York or something. 6 hours of this?
Yeah.
No. Just stop trying to squeeze more chairs in and make all the seats tiny. And then you won't have to make a cuddle chair.
Right.
Just make the chairs that you have actually comfortable.
So
take out one row, just one.
Right. So is that really the thing here, that they want to squeeze every dime out of us so that the seats keep getting smaller, and now they're going to strap us in? And
yeah, but I mean, it works into our favor too. I mean, the more people that can fit on a plane, the cheaper tickets are going to be.
Yeah.
And it's already pretty expensive as it is. So I would trade the money for any sense of comfort, anyways.
For a 6-hour flight, I can't trade.
Yeah,
nothing.
but I mean, but a 6-hour flight, what, are you gonna like lean up against the side of the window,
always
or
get the
like
window.
fall
I
into
pay
the
for
aisle,
it.
or sleep on somebody? I don't know. Like, I try to sometimes sleep on the tray table, which never really works out.
Right.
But I curl up into a little ball anyways, and normally make it work a little bit. But I feel like that would, I don't know, I wouldn't mind, like, you know,
Yeah.
because I could like put my knees up and then kind of like, I don't know, that'd be comfortable.
Have you guys ever had like one of those really bad experiences? We've all had the kid crying kind of thing, or someone kicking your seat. But have you ever had something really bad, like someone sleeping on you, or like I flew this week. There was someone within 3 rows that was farting constantly. You know what I mean? And we're trapped in a tin up there. You know what I mean? I just wanted to open the door a little, just let it out a little. You know?
They need to invent something for that.
That would be something.
Because I have a friend, Heather, you know what you did, who blows up planes every time. Not that way.
Yeah.
Don't think.
Oh,
okay. Seriously, like,
Yeah.
they need an invention for that, for
Yeah.
her ass, or all asses like that.
Like some sort of cushion that would.
That would just absorb it?
Yeah.
Or send it back into her?
Oh, that's weird. Have you ever had one of those just like terrible flying, just something?
Yeah, it seems like I always get stuck in the middle with people who like to like really lean over on their side of the armchair. So then I'm like sitting in the middle, kind of like this, like not sure, like if I want to eat something, I kind of have to like do like one of these type of maneuvers.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't mind a cuddle chair because then I could at least like lean forward and avoid all of that.
So
Yeah.
they're doing this.
But it seems kind of gross, honestly, too, at the same time. Because everybody's like cuddling with the same thing.
Ooh,
You
yeah.
know? And then you put your face in the little hole. Like even whenever I go to like, if I have to go to a chiropractor or like a massage thing or whatever, you put your face in it, it's like, I always kind of hesitate because it grosses me out. Especially when people sleep, they drool. So what are you gonna like, put your face in
Well,
that?
I'm sure
It's
there's
really
going to be
gross.
some kind of disposable,
not.
no disposable, nothing. All right, I don't know. Anyway, what do you think? Are you comfortable on airlines as is? Do you like the guy sleeping on your shoulder? Have you ever met anyone that way? Let us know in the comments right down below. 2015, a space cappuccino.
Mornings are about to improve for the Italian astronaut who's been suffering through instant coffee at the International Space Station. An espresso machine is on the SpaceX supply capsule that was scheduled for launch earlier this week. The specially designed, Italian-made espresso maker is intended for astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti, who arrived on the space station in November.
All right, so I had to do this story, obviously, because it combines 2 of my favorite things, space and coffee. If you were going up to space, what would be like the one thing that you absolutely, because I would need the coffee.
I related to that so much. I was like, if I were up there, that'd be the one thing I would ask for.
Coffee.
Send me espresso, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't drink coffee,
What?
so I don't understand.
You don't drink
it.
coffee, you don't smoke weed.
Told you,
You're very
natural
smart.
high.
Yeah, I don't really understand. You should be bottling that shit.
I will. Patent pending, guys.
Yeah, but if you were going up to space, what would be the one thing that you need?
A man. Sorry, I should have thought that, not said it. No,
I'll
man.
accept it, I'll
That's
accept
it.
I'll
He
accept
has to be alive though. That's no dead man. I've had it happen once, not again.
All right, a live man. That seems probably doable. Would you guys?
Nice choice of words.
Doable, literally. There
Nice.
you go. Would you guys go to space if you could? I love it. I love the idea of it. Even these people that are doing this Mars thing, where it's only going to be a one-way trip, and they know they're not coming home. Like, to me, like, I can't. I get nauseous on a freaking merry-go-round, so I'm not going to space anytime soon.
It sounds awesome. Space is so cool, and I would love to see it. Maybe it just scares me. Yeah. Like, honestly, I haven't even been on a cruise because I'm afraid of going on a boat out into the middle of an ocean and just feeling like, you know, there's no safety.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not the scariest part of a cruise, though. The scariest part of a cruise is the all-you-can-eat buffet.
That sounds amazing.
I mean, these people, have you seen these people at the buffet? It's scary. I wouldn't worry about the water.
I'm I guess
You've
a
seen
little
Titanic.
scared.
You know
yeah,
what could
I've seen Titanic.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of space movies too.
I
where
saw
people
Gravity.
Yeah, so I don't think so.
No space. Space, would you go? You don't want to go to space?
I saw Gravity. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Enough to have learned from her mistake. Don't go.
Don't go to space.
Just don't go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the boats, though, why aren't we searching that way? You know, James Cameron, he's building all this crazy technology to go further below the water than we ever have. And I guess the next couple avatars are going to be underwater. But we have so much to explore that's on this little blue dot floating around. Like, maybe we don't have to go out there. Maybe we just need to go down there.
We pretty much have we're sucking everything out of this one. So
Yeah.
we're like, let's look for a new planet so that in 100 years when this one's toast, we can move.
You think it's going to be 100 years? I'm looking at like 40.
I was being optimistic. I told you.
The smiley. Yeah. What, exploring down there. Why don't we do more of that? Like, I feel like that's just like if an explorer was like, yes, I'm going to go down to the depths of the Pacific, people would be like, come on, dude, this isn't 1920.
I still think it'd be cool. I mean, anything that's unknown should be explored.
Anything that's unknown should be explored. I think that's a fine ending. So, I want to thank Shanna and Jaclyn. I'm going to let you guys pimp yourselves out. You're used to talking to cameras. Right there. Who the hell are you and what are you doing?
Shanna Malcolm, actress, funny chick, YouTube personality. Eternally optimistic.
Where
apparently.
do they find you, woman?
They find me at youtube.com/HeyYoShana in case you haven't been paying attention, or on Twitter, which is my name, Shanna Malcolm, and Instagram is the same, Shanna Malcolm.
That's professional branding. Jaclyn, how do these good people find you?
Professional branding. This is Jaclyn Glenn everywhere. YouTube.com/Jaclyn Glenn. Instagram, same thing. Twitter, same thing. Facebook, same thing. So find me.
If you've learned anything this week, it's that branding is the most important thing there is. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll do it again next week.